the owner, how do you feel that we've seen the crunch in 2008, at the end of 2008, we've seen really a very bad financing market in 2009 and 10, where deals that before all you had to do is pick up the phone and say, I would like $100, $200, $300 million, and that's the project, and you have about 48 hours to respond to the bank, and usually the more successful owners manage to get what they wanted, to a situation where very eminent and thoroughly bankable projects take a hell of a long time to materialize, and where before banks were talking, well, I don't particularly like this project, it's only 50 or 100 million, don't you have something in the $500 million range so that I can utilize my time more usefully and productively. Now we're at 50 million, and very often the banks are struggling, saying 50 million, oh, yes, maybe I'll get another bank involved.
I think Andreas just now has actually listed down all the conditions from the bank side. Now they ask for this the higher equity ratio. They ask for a shorter loan tenure. And they say, no, I'm now not interested in this pre-delivery, this financing. And the spread, of course, is very much higher. I think from the ship owner side, I think there's many of these owners, I think today they still can get by, simply because the LIBOR is so low. So sort of 300 basis points or even 400 basis points, so what? I think still below 5%. So many of them still can live by with this situation. But I think going forward, I don't know, so when this interest rate is sort of this maybe end of this year, maybe beginning of next year, begin to move up, and it can move very fast, because look at the current sort of situation that is very much biased toward the inflation. So the whole thing can move very fast. By then, I think it's going to be very difficult for this many ship owner. But again, I think here it is not across the board. There are many ship owners, especially those in the Asia side. I think there's, again, just now, I think some speakers mentioned about local content. I think there's many of the local bank, Asian bank, are more willing to support the local ship owner. Not so much of they have more trust in this local ship owner, simply because I think culturally and as well as this, I think relationship-wise, I think they feel more comfortable dealing with the local ship owner. So many of the Asia ship owner, Chinese, Taiwanese, or this, some of the other Asian ship owner, I think they will still be able to get a relatively good funding scheme support from the local bank. Ourselves, for example, we have dealing with European bank, French bank, especially, and some and the German bank. Relationship is still there, and they visit us regularly, but they just simply tell us this. We feel sorry because they visit us so frequently that we don't sort of seem to be able to sort of conclude any deal. And they say, don't worry, I will continue to visit you, but I just simply tell you that I won't be able to match. Because what you get from this, the Asian bank and this, this Asian bank, even including this Japanese bank, surprisingly for US dollars loan, Japanese bank are relatively this competitive. And this, and of course the Taiwanese bank and the Chinese bank and all this sort of this. Some of the ship owner who have a better balance sheet, like this, Mr. Kashim mentioned about this morning, talk about his company situation and all this. I believe he will still be courted by many of these banks to sort of is willing to loan the money. All in all, some of the ship owner going to face a lot of problem, especially those get caught with a very expensive ship. Take Cape, for example. And I mentioned that for those ships that is ordered, placed in the 2007 and 2008, 70 million or 80 million, many of them, or even 90 million. 90 million $50 of this capital cost, and if you loan at 70%, I tell you the cash flow sort of 10 years or 8 years loan this tenant, you probably need about 27 to 28,000 this TCE to be able to sort of generate that kind of positive cash flow. So if the interest rate remain at this LIBOR at less than 1%, okay, this you can manage it. But this, the moment that interest rate shot up, and with this kind of spread and this 300 basis point or more, I think it's going to be very difficult. So this is a latest situation, and I think this, from the bank's point of view, I think they just simply look at the cash flow. I think if you cannot generate sufficient cash flow, and you don't have a very good long-term charter party, for example, to sort of this, with good credit this rating, I think it's going to be very difficult for the bank to be able to convince their compliance division to say, yes, I think you can go ahead and this, with this particular loan. Thank you.
Well, time charters are great as long as the charterers perform, and we have seen, especially, well, on the dry side, a lot of renegotiations. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, in as much as you have a very good time charter. You say, oh, okay, in 10 years I will be able to fully amortize my loan because the rate is 30,000. Suddenly the charterer comes back and says, well, sorry, I can't afford the 30. I still want to, because he's a good charterer, I still want to meet the obligations, but meet me halfway or 2/3 of the way, or whatever we agree. And then you suddenly find that your cash flow from being ample becomes tight or even negative.
No question about it. Therefore, just now I qualified by saying that a long-term charter party but must be from a sort of this good credit, this rating, this charterer. Otherwise, I think the bank will probably not interested. And I don't know whether Andrews have sort of this information on this aspect. I think from China's side, I think this, they're probably now working on package deal. Package deal mean, i.e., they have their Exim Bank or Export Credit Bank and or their ICBC and all this state bank coming in, and then with this, they're probably this charterer like Costco or maybe this Baokang and all this kind of this state-owned company to be the charterer, and then the ship to be built in this China. So it is actually a package deal offered to the foreign owner that you come in and then I provide you the loan, you build in my Chinese yard, and then at the same time I have a sort of this long-term charter party from one of the state-owned company. So it is, I think it is already this kind of this development and this kind of this package been offered, and I presume you will continue to work along this way, because the Chinese are very determined to be the #1 ship builder, and I think they will continue to work in that aspect, because and they are also require more and more shipping tonnage to carry for their import and export requirement. So they will continue to work on this through leasing or through this special package with this long-term charter financing, as well as building in the local yard or some other means. I think this, and Andrew probably can give some comment on this.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, the Chinese are very active and want to underpin this situation. However, I'm not sure that is the best for the shipping industry, because the shipping industry doesn't need more vessels on the water. They have a different agenda. They want to keep employment rates high, etc., for workers. They want to, as I said, become the biggest shipbuilder in the world. And if you look on a 10-year spread of shipbuilding berth capacity, that has gone up tremendously. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I'm sure it has more or less doubled in the last 10 years. So availability for shipbuilding has just gone up a lot, and shipbuilding is often politically driven. So that can be a recipe for disaster. And if you start building vessels not because the market wants it, but simply to keep employment rates high and political stability in your country, well, I don't know if I want to be a banker anymore or a ship owner. Let's see where we end up.
Well, I think I fully agree. And if you look at what's happening in China today, there's a lot of talk, but I'm not sure there's a lot of walk. They were talking about establishing a $5 billion fund to enable Greek ship owners to build more ships. There are conflicting views whether this is ever going to go effectively off the ground, or it was just some political talk when the Chinese Prime Minister visited Greece and talked about the idea. And we have seen at least a lot of the Chinese banks who are talking about doing something internationally. But as you said, unless there is a very strong all-round Chinese element, I don't see it happening, at least in the foreseeable future. And there's been also the problem where the Chinese banks, despite the fact that China as a whole is holding tremendous amounts of trillions of dollars, apparently it's not being made available to their banks. And with the fear of the appreciation of the yuan against the dollar, the banks are not really willing to lend it.
I think one should not underestimate the Chinese. I think they
Never.
are capable to do a lot of this, generate a lot of surprise if they want. And I think this, and sometimes many of the decision making, it is beyond our sort of this comprehension, because many of this is with a different objective. And I would agree with this, Andreas, that this definitely that kind of this state support and subsidy is not something that we would like to see. For company like us, I think we will probably prefer that there's a free, open competition rather than a state support and all this. And in actual fact, this is now the golden opportunity for us, because we can get a very competitive funding, and then financially, I think our balance sheet is very healthy. I think this is actually the good opportunity that we can actually, leverage on. And if Korean government and Chinese government and probably subsequently other government do step in, and I think that will be very unfortunate, and definitely we don't like to see that happen. But it's a fact that I think we have to recognize, and I think we just have to bear it in mind that thing might not end up as what's so ideal as what we have been thinking, because as I say, it is so unfortunate that we rely so heavily on one single country, and that one single country, it is sort of capable to generate so many positive as well as negative surprise. And who knows, tomorrow, if something crop up again, and then the whole world will be sort of badly affected. I mean, now this Chinese economy is so strong in the overall global economy.
Well, I guess we're putting a lot of faith and emphasis on China. We're expecting them to create the growth. We're expecting them to build the ships. We're expecting them to possibly finance the ships and give us some employment. So it's probably a tall order and expectation. Any other questions from the floor? No? Well, then I shall thank my panelists for their contribution.